All right. 4 months in, we're 1/3 of the way through 2023. So far, how's 2023 been treating you?
Yeah, pretty good. Pretty good all around. What have we done this year?
What has happened? Jesus.
Well, we got the EP done. We kind of had it recorded. That's pretty much the biggest thing. That's the main thing we did. We did that in February. Other than that, like band wise, it's
the Grease Stag tour. What was that, 2 or 3 weeks ago?
Oh yeah, those fucking idiots.
24th, 25th of March. That was great crack. Supported them for their album launch.
Yeah, we had we learned a few things on that tour. I think I can speak for all of us. We're excited to be on like a 3-day. It was 3 days in a row.
Aye.
And we, before the tour, we told ourselves, take it easy on the booze. And the first night we got like, disgustingly drunk, and didn't think we'd make it to the second gig, but it was all good. We made it. we made it in the end. So.
Driving down from Belfast to Dublin, like I was like really bad. Well, then that turned out like one of our best shows in the world.
Yeah,
it was weird.
So there you go. Drink as much as you can until you pass out, and it'll make you better at stuff.
Apparently, it works.
You're still standing. You're still here right now. So no harm, no foul. Of course, we are on the home stretch to the release of the new EP, The Schmeckening, 1st of May. All the way back in February, you've recorded it, which means you've been waiting basically a couple of months. Where's your head at with it right now?
I'm very happy with it. What about you?
Yeah, no, we're super stoked with how it sounds. Recorded it with Michael Richards up in Track Mix in Dublin. He seems to have recorded everybody in Ireland. Like we got it as part of the Bloodstock thing. We got the start of the regular stage, and then an evening of recording in Track Mix. 3 and a half, so basically turned out as a day and a half price sort of thing. And yeah, basically just went in there thinking, how can we do the most with this day as we can? So just got those 3 songs together, practiced the shit out of them for a few weeks, and then went in, hammered them out. And then he mixed and mastered on the day as well. So we should just from 0 to EP in 24 hours.
Well, the writing process, I think, of those.
Oh, yeah, I was talking about.
Well, yeah, but like the lead up until that, like we had said, I can't remember to who, we said to somebody at Bloodstock, oh yeah, we've got a song called Stabbed in the Head. We absolutely did not have that song ready to go, but we had a title for a song. So we just thought, oh yeah, fuck it, we have that song. So, but like, we were listening to all sorts of stuff. I mean, like everything from Nails to the Allman Brothers Band, but we were listening to Nails in particular one night, myself and him drinking a few beers, and we're like, I've got an idea. We went into the practice space, which is at our bass player's house, and just hammered out the song. And it didn't come. It just seemed to be pretty inspired to write there and then. I think it took us those 3 songs about 3 weeks to write them, and then recorded them in the day. So it was a very inspired time.
That specific song, like, yeah, right, let's get in, wrote it.
And what do you kind of want to do with this EP in particular? Is this a showcase of your development over the past period of time? Is it remind people, hey, we're still here, continuing to capitalize, as you already said, on a strong previous year, a strong last 9 months, or is it a bit of everything?
You actually just nailed it just there. I think like the intention was kind of both of those things that you just mentioned. We have an album already out, and that came out during the pandemic and stuff. So, you know, that kind of, not that it was buried, but we didn't get to play it live. We didn't really get to showcase it. But with this, with the EP, basically we have enough material for basically another album ready to go. But it's a much more involved recording. You know, we're going to be much more involved with that recording. So the idea with the Schmeckening was to get a collection of songs together that we could record in a day at Track Mix with Michael. And I guess I don't want to say it's a departure from what was on the album, but it's definitely a lot less. There's a lot less bells and whistles. These are all like the most cliche things to say, but I guess we trimmed the fat and we were like, actually, I suppose when we were writing them, anything that didn't make us go, oh yeah, that's perfect, we're like, forget it, cut it out of the song. And that's why you end up getting these, you know, much shorter songs compared to 9-minute, 8-minute, you know, even 10-minute songs that was on the previous album and that will be on the, I would imagine will be on the next album. It was a very, an exercise in less, you know, an exercise in trimming the fat.
And that made it a real learning process for us as well. And I think kind of, I suppose, opened our eyes to that side of creativity, because the past while, as you said, we like with 2 of our songs for the upcoming album are like 10 and above minutes long, and most of the other songs are around 5 or 6 minute mark probably. And it started to just feel too normal to just keep adding to songs, you know. So then with these ones, yeah, we kind of learned that less can very much be more.
Big time. I agree with that.
And yeah, just the idea of kind of a song feeling complete but being a minute and a half long.
Yeah, that I think as well, we wanted to have something, because we won't get a chance to get into a studio, you know, to record the next full-length album. But we had this opportunity to make, you know, to use a day's recording, and you know, most people would do one song or a single, but we're like, let's do a full EP, challenge ourselves, get it done. So there's something we can put out, you know, not that we have, you know, millions of adoring fans, but that the people that do like our band have something that they can listen to, you know, that isn't just the old stuff. There's something they can listen to while we prepare the next album.
But it also works as an introduction to you to a degree. If, as you said, the album came out during the pandemic, a terrible time for it. And, you know, you don't want to use words like buried and so on, but it makes complete sense. You're not alone in that situation. Many releases came out and just went under the radar because of what was going on. This might give the opportunity of someone finding the CP, listening to the CP and going, oh, cool, back catalogue, full album. Let me check that out.
Yeah, I hope so. That would be great. If this is the first time, if this EP is the first thing that people hear from us, I think it would be, I'm quite proud of them. I think it's a good showcase of of the way we're writing songs at the minute.
The work that's gone into Schmeckening, the time and effort you've spent working on it in particular, as you say, such a short amount of time, the fact you were able to do 3 tracks is incredible. For the record, although the review isn't out yet, it has been written, and I absolutely love this EP. One of the things I noticed, considering you've gone for this shorter, more chaotic kind of thing going on, it feels like more refinement as well. And I think this has obviously come from experience and time, particularly in playing live and so on. Do you feel like this EP is a good showcase of a more refined Tooms sound?
Yeah, for sure. I guess, yeah, as we said, in terms of the actual length of the songs, and as you said about the fat, so to speak, it's definitely not that we've moved away entirely from the more involved, more kind of how do you say, like, more
it's less proggy.
Less proggy, yeah. Like let's definitely moved away from that entirely in general. Like, we'll be back to that kind of stuff for the album big time. But yeah, I mean, but as I said, it has also taught us how to kind of develop more in our song approach as well. So this could well have an effect on the album as well going forward. But
well, I think you nailed it there when you mentioned like experience from playing live, knowing what people. When you're playing a show, you can kind of see what people dig and what they don't like. You know, not that longer, slower songs aren't great. I love long, slow, doomy shit as well. But you can kind of tell there's certain parts of songs that really get people moving. We basically just wrote 3 songs comprise mostly of breakdowns and you know, the moshy bits that people like.
That's a very good way of putting it.
And we like to play, you know, and I like watching people react to those songs. So super excited to play these songs live. Yeah.
But when you went into the studio, before you went into the studio, when you were writing and planning for this and you decided you're going to do 3 tracks, was that the vision? Was that the initial vision that that's what we're going to do?
It's kind of hard to remember, but I kind of, honestly, yeah, I think so. I think it was. I know, like, we're actually sitting in this room. I don't know if you can see it. It's back there somewhere. I have a little amp. It's about this big, Boss Katana. It's a tiny little thing. There's a song on the previous album called Megalobong. It's about a shark, smokes weed, all this ridiculous lore. But I came up with this riff, and Kieran was sitting here, and I was like, check this out. And I played the riff, and we're like, okay, cool. Let's build another song around that. Like, up until then, we had Anvil Crawler and we had Stabbed in the Head. We knew we were going to put those 2 songs. They worked together. We ended up writing the 3rd song about the shark as well, the Megalobong too. We kind of knew. I think we kind of planned to do an EP that was going to be short, punchy, get in, get out, get in, fuck shit up, and leave.
Yeah, I guess it became apparent very fast that those 2 songs just kind of work together. And as you say, as we have been saying, have a slightly different flavor to the other stuff we're working on. So it kind of made sense that they should just be their own entity.
It was fun as well, coming from the album stuff, you know, where you have songs that are 12 minutes long. You have these, you know, the other 2 songs that we had been playing live, they're these big, long epics, and they're super involved, and you don't really get a moment to breathe. Whereas with these songs, you're done in under 2 minutes, and you're like, all right, cool, on to the next one. It's fun. It's. I mean, we you know, it's a jam in punk bands and stuff. Briefly used to play, you know, Sex and Violence by The Exploited and that kind of thing. So it's kind of nice to go, you know, to go back to what originally inspired us.
And I think it needs to be stressed, right? Because, of course, yes, there are differences between the EP and the debut album, but this is still sounds very much like you. And I thought that was particularly important.
Yeah, I think.
I suppose that's kind of interesting to hear because I don't know. It's hard for me to pinpoint what we sound like, for sure. And we definitely don't. I mean, we don't really think about it at all. But you know, it's kind of interesting to hear that it's a recognizable sound. You know.
Yeah, no, it is great. I'm glad that you can. You know, it sounds like a Tooms recording or Tooms record.
Well, I may be biased in the fact that in the lead up to the writing about the EP, I decided to make sure I spent like a week blasting the album out every drive I did. And my drives tend to be to work about 45 minutes there, 45 minutes back, which is, you know, pretty decent, pretty much to get through the album.
It's perfect music time is in the car. I think, especially if you're driving by yourself, you just crank it. You start crying, screaming the lyrics back at the radio. It's the best time.
I remember someone saying to me before that, like, I bumped into them in the street or something. They're like, "Oh yeah, I listened to your album the other day. We were making coffee in the morning." I was like, "What are you thinking?"
Fucking crazy bastard.
Yeah.
So overall with Tooms then, events and situations, it's been a funny old few years. I guess I want to know both internally and externally, how much have events and situations affected Tooms and what you've been able to accomplish to date? Because while we have the pandemic years, coming out of that, obviously you've had stuff like Bloodstock and Melt to the Masses and so on. So it's a bit of good and bad, it seems to be.
Well, I think the very first thing that I always think, you know, I know the album came out during the pandemic, but I look at it in a positive light, or try to. Everybody had to be at home. No one had a choice. So when music comes out, what are you going to do? If you're anybody who is a fan of music, fuck it, I've got an hour. I'm not going anywhere. I'm at home. So I think a lot of people got to listen to the album that might have not listened to it because they were at home. So that's the first thing I'll say. That's the most positive thing that happened. But since things opening, since things been back open, there's definitely a hunger for people. I've noticed that crowds are a bit busier. At least they were. Any show that we've played has had a lot of energy. I don't know, is that coming off the album? Has there been more fans? I don't know. But I think that people are definitely more excited to go and see live shows.
What about then sticking again, going back to the schmeckening specifically? Was there anything that was particularly challenging for you that really tested your abilities, be it in the writing, recording, production, mastering phases?
To be honest, it was very smooth, really. As I said, like, I mean, yeah, because I think, like, I mean, everything's a learning experience. Like the full-length album, that was kind of my first time properly recording something, especially of that length. So there's a lot more teething problems there in terms of performance, really. And so this time, just from not, like, you know, having a song that you're not 100% comfortable playing when you're going into the studio with it. So this time around, as I say, we just practiced the absolute back off them for like several weeks, so that we could just go in and just get them done with no possibility of fuck ups.
Yeah, we knew our songs inside and out going into the studio. I think you mentioned something about performing in the studio. We tried very briefly to play to a click track during the recording of the album, and really quickly realized that is fucked up and it's not for us. It works for some people, it works for certain types of music. We need like certain cadences and fluctuation in tempos. It's part of our sound. Maybe we're too lazy to learn how to use a click track, but I'm going to go with the first answer. But no, we didn't even, I think it was mentioned in the studio this time for the schmeckening, and we were like, no, we're not doing that. So we put down a scratch track of guitar and bass, and he just made sure that he got like good drum takes. I think he got all of them in like 2 takes, and then he got one of them in 1 take. So he knew the songs inside and out for the drums, and that's the most important thing. If you get a good drum sound, everything else is easy. You just use the drum as a click track. So props to him for making it easy for us to record.
Recording Meg 2 was very funny. Like, I did the so-called first take, and I finished the song, looked down, one of my sticks was in half. So and it was the only part I brought. So I walked out, I was like, okay, first of all, I've got no more sticks, and B, how does that sound? Like, that sounded pretty good. Listen to it, like, yeah, that's one. Like, yeah, that's all you get.
I think the most challenging thing, I think, was trying to get 3 songs. I know that they're short songs, but trying to get the 3 of them done in 1 day. Excuse me. I know that we only had so much time. So to go into a studio and let's see, we got the first 2 songs done, or the first song done. We're like, oh, we could work on this some more, but disciplining ourselves to be like, no, we have 2 more songs to do. Let's just keep moving. So most things were done in.
Yeah, and then just continuing on from that, just about Michael and recording with him, and how you could really just feel how experienced he is recording bands. Like, it was funny. He gives really good energy throughout the day, but without seeming to do that much verbally, he just kind of be like, oh, I just do a take there, try that. I think kind of walk away and let you do it, and then come back and be like, yeah, sounds good, and just kept it moving. Just kept it moving for the whole day, and helped us to just get it all down.
I'm glad it was so productive. I'm glad it was so problem-free. That's kind of what we want to hear. We ask a question like that in the hope that you're just going to go, nah, nothing, and that's the end of that. But in turn, we also want to hear about the positive side of things too, particularly aspects that you may have enjoyed, particularly if it's an aspect or a new experience that you'd never done before. Was there anything that particularly stood out for you about this session?
Yeah, straight away, the first thing, so I brought loads of guitars with me, and I tried different things, and he's like, stop. All of your guitars are cheap. I don't mean to offend you, but they're all cheap. And he handed me this, like, €4,000 or, £3,000 guitar, an ESP, this beautiful guitar. And straight away I was like, okay, well, this is what a real instrument is like. And then secondly, so for using like beautiful instruments and like lots of lovely amps, having that all at our disposal for the day was great. I do maintain that my guitars are lovely. So
it was a bit expensive to call them cheap.
But I know he was just joking. But the biggest thing in the studio, I've never used, all of my guitars are like fixed bridge, stop tail pieces. I don't really ever use Floyd Rose or whammy bars or wiggle sticks, any of that shit. But I had an idea to use a Floyd Rose. I wanted to do like a really metal dive bomb sort of wee, wee. So I had this idea in my head, and he happened to have a guitar with a Floyd Rose, and I'm like, let me try it. He didn't like the idea. I kind of convinced him around, and the second I did it, he's like, that's the best fucking thing I've ever heard. So getting to use a Floyd Rose in the studio, I'll never do it live, but just to have it on record, I was delighted to use a Floyd Rose. So that's the first thing for me to think of, yeah.
Fantastic. You got anything?
I was just gonna, just say more about the Floyd Rose. It was just really funny. Just like the section we're talking about isn't stabbed in the head. I think it's just heavy metal. I want to do the most heavy metal thing we can.
Pick slides, dive bombs, guitar squealing.
Oh, it's got everything.
Actually, that's another thing. Like when we were doing this, we were like, let's, the last one we were listening to a lot of stuff like, the first Smashing Pumpkins album. I mean, for the first album that we did, and we were listening to, it wasn't so much just metal. It was largely inspired by ISIS, actually, Oceanic and Panopticon especially. Yeah, great albums. We were kind of going down that experimental road, loads of guitar tracks like Billy Corgan style. This time it was just, let's make the most fucking metal album we possibly can. So,
yeah, I like to what I'd say about this EP is that it's like an ode to our like 15, 16-year-old selves. It's just it's like, fuck you, mom.
I love a little tribute to those days. You're obviously a well-known name within the Irish rock and metal scene. The wider world is getting to know you bit by bit, but of course the challenge is how you turn Tooms into a household name around the world. What is the biggest challenge you think you face with doing that, and how do you plan to try and overcome it?
I think being on Ireland is it's the best. The metal scene here is brilliant. The rock scene here is brilliant. The promoters here, it's a very involved scene, but at the end of the day, it's a pretty small island. So I think I know the UK kind of it's obviously also an island, but you're blessed with maybe more cities, maybe more opportunity, and then people in Europe, you go to America, you just get in your car and you drive. I think that's maybe a difficulty for Irish bands, not having the opportunity to drive. We drive from the bottom of the country to the top in 4 hours.
Yeah.
So I guess that's probably our biggest challenge is getting it, or to break Europe is you got to go there, which can be a bit costly. And we don't make any fucking money from Tooms. So I guess that's the biggest hurdle. But that's not a bad thing. It's an easy solution. Just go and play there.
yeah. You love it. Simple, I love how simple you make it. But it always comes down to the one thing, it is money. But hopefully the schmeckening will help along with that. What does the remainder of 2023 roughly look like for you? Do you have much plans in the works that you can talk about, or is it just at the moment we're going to wait and see what happens next?
No, we got good plans. We have so there's a release show in our hometown in Limerick. That's going to be the 14th of May.
Correct.
And then we play with an excellent Irish band, Partholon, 2 weeks after that. Third Island and Appenham, other great bands from Ireland they'll be playing. That's May. We got a few more gigs lined up. I'm trying to think.
Yeah, July got a couple in there. A festival called United Tribes up in Tyrone, which is a great crack. We played it last year, and it's kind of like the psytrance and like
fucking hippies.
Yeah, it's like psytrance plus like a couple of like rock and metal bands. Actually, we were kind of the only metal band last year.
We were the only metal band.
What a position!
Everybody was like, these psytrance people with their dreads. They're lovely. They're the best. But you kind of they were all like dancing on their on their love buzz. And it was like, all right, we're Tooms. Dun 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 dun. You could just see everyone be like, what's going on? But it was good.
Yeah, we divided the crowd, which is great to see.
I love it.
And then the following day, then Monkfest, July 1st. And then
a shout out to Curse Monk Records. It's a small record company that comes out of Ireland, but I'm sure anyone watching this will know. They put out an enormous amount of music. But this is the second year, myself and one of the guys from Song from a Tree and Roger himself, we kind of put this show together with the help of Emmett from The Depths. check out. Great podcast. But we put a festival together last year, and it went great. So we're going to do it again this year. And that's pretty much just bands from Curse Monk Records.
Nice.
Heavy as fuck. A heavy fucking day.
Yeah, you've listed names. Yeah, you've dropped a ton of names there, and I'm nodding my head in agreement. These are incredible bands. The Irish scene is simply phenomenal. Curse Monk Records, love them, absolutely love them. So
and Roger's the nicest guy. And then July, we're actually coming to the UK, playing with an English band. We're playing with Acid Throne. We're doing 3 dates.
Yep.
3 dates across the south of the UK.
21st, 22nd, the 23rd, I believe. It's Camden, Bournemouth, and then Bristol.
I have to look at the calendar again. My brain is stand. But that's going to be with Acid Throne.
You said the 21st, 22nd, 23rd. What month?
July.
Okay. I didn't know this. And Camden is my local gig. Camden is my local gig. So I'm gonna try and make sure I'm there.
Camden's great. We were talking to someone in the pub the other night, mentioned the name of the bar.
It's the
Dev?
It's not the Black
Dev. It's the Dev.
The Dev. Yeah. That's the one. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll see you there.
Yeah, man. Absolutely. I didn't know that. I'm stoked. because, brilliant. All right, guys. We reach the part of the interview, right, where it changes slightly, and I start throwing random questions at you that are selected from a pool of 500, randomly chosen for you. They can be serious, nonsensical, but the idea is it will still get your thoughts. Please take it in turns here to both give an answer, because it's always interesting to see what you both got to say. So we begin with number 1, which is, what is your favorite holiday location to date?
That I've been to. I haven't been to. The moon. Jesus. That's a tough one. Texas was interesting. I was there when I was like 9, I'm gonna say.
Wow.
It was cool. It was very big and very flat and very hot.
I'm gonna go. Just off the top of my head, I'm gonna have to go with. I went to South Africa when I was pretty young. That was a very lucky trip. I did like a safari thing. That shit was.
Oh wow.
That's probably the coolest thing. And I went to Lanzarote with my girlfriend last year, and there was so little to do that we just got drunk in the sun. So that was pretty nice too.
I'm pretty sure that's the only reason anybody goes to Lanzarote.
Yeah, yeah. So those two were pretty high on the list.
All right. What is a meal that you think you cook better than anyone else?
Beef goulash with red wine. Easy. I'll kill anybody that says they can do better than me. I'll make the best beef goulash. I promise you. Either with red wine or with Guinness.
Oh.
I was gonna say I make a mean curry, but our bassist Anto is a master chef.
That's true.
So I was gonna currently be him with any of the things I could think of.
He makes a mean beans on toast.
Oh man.
It's a staple.
He's allowed to taste it though.
What is the most extravagant item you think you own?
Okay. It's one of two. Either my Yamaha SR 400 is a 2016. That thing is beautiful. It's the most fun machine to ride. Or my wine red 1993 Gibson Les Paul Standard. It came out the factory a few hours before I was born. So that's probably, it's priceless. That's probably my number one.
Amazing.
I buy my clothes from charity shops and I do my own alcohol. So I got nothing bad. All that stuff is cheap. I got some nice jackets. I've got a cashmere jacket I got for $10.
It's the jacket.
That's pretty sweet. So it looks extravagant, but isn't. That's the secret.
All right. What was the last great horror movie you watched?
I'll tell you what it wasn't. We watched Nosferatu, Das Vampire. You know, the 1979 Werner Herzog. It had all the right ingredients. I just don't think it's a good film.
Fair enough.
I just don't. But the best one that jumps to mind, either, I don't know if you call them horror movies. I thought Hereditary was really good. And I thought Midsummer was pretty fucking good too. I don't know if you classify those as horrors.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I'll go with those two. They were pretty good.
Yeah, yeah, I'd have to agree with those. Trying to think what else there was recently. Yeah.
I watched Halloween again at Halloween, and it's never old. It's good every time. Scream, not the newest Scream, but I think Scream came back. Wasn't terrible.
Yeah, the Scream. Well, yeah, there's a Scream 6 now, but you mean the one that came out like 22, I think it was. Yes, just the one that was Scream, but was Scream 5. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That was pretty good. It was surprisingly not bad. I'll put it that way.
You would not believe how many, whenever this one has popped up with other bands and artists, you would not believe how many people mention either Hereditary or Midsommar. It seems to have been the stuff of the modern era that people have connected to.
There's a particular scene in, obviously I don't want to give too much of Hereditary away. Anyone who hasn't seen it, check it out. But there's a scene, obviously the whole movie, it's pretty chilling. You know, if you put yourself in that situation, maybe it's more of a thriller, not a horror. But there's a bit towards the end. Yeah, this doesn't give any of the plot away. When the mother is upside down and she's clawing at the attic door, it reminded me of when I was like real young and I watched The Exorcist for the first time.
Oh, wow.
All the hair on the back of my neck stood up. I was like, I'm sleeping with the light on tonight. And that's a good horror movie.
Yeah.
It can do that too.
Yeah, it's incredible to have that effect on you. That's amazing. All right, what's the best thing about being in Tooms?
There's nothing good about being in Tooms. I think the best thing is when you have an idea and you bring it to the practice room, when you just have a riff and you show the lads, or I show the boys, or they show me something, and then 2 or 3 hours later, a couple of beers later, we've got either a verse or a chorus, or sometimes even a full song. That's more rewarding than anything in the world.
I think it's just a very. I think it's a nicer band to be in than really give it credit for, because I'm so used to it. But like we've known each other for like pretty much 10 years. So we were jamming for years before we played from Tooms. So we've got that sort of natural bedrock of
deep pocket,
very pocket, awful deep pockets. And
that's not true. He'd peel an orange in his pocket.
and also just that thing of it's by no means a Lamb of God situation, right, where Alex has a riff and I'm like, no, it's not speed metal. We can't play that. No idea is really wrong. We say no to things. We learn to say no to some things, but only to some of things. So yeah, it's just very good band to be in creatively, I suppose.
Yeah, we've learned to say no in a nice way because musicians have very, very soft egos and they can be easily bruised.
Of course. Okay, right. The next one's one of the controversial ones. We have a handful of controversial that pop up, and the answers vary, and it causes arguments. So it's simple, gentlemen. Nice. What goes on chips? Ketchup, mayonnaise, curry sauce. Whatever, or if you've got your own one.
On whatever's in the fridge. Like, I'm happy to put mayonnaise and ketchup together. Rot-Weiss. I'm half German, so mayonnaise and ketchup, mix it up together. That's good.
Outrageous.
Yeah,
salt and vinegar. That's kind of a classic.
I was gonna say salt and vinegar all the way.
Yeah.
Any of the above, any and all of the above. With the mustard and mayo.
Oh yeah, I fuck with some mustard on chips. Yeah. More chips.
Aioli.
What is the best? What is the best live show? What is the best live show that you've ever experienced as a fan?
Bong Ripper. Easy.
Both of you, all right.
Yeah, I saw them. We both saw them at Desert Fest, and then I saw them a couple of months ago, last year. Some in London. They played with Conan. I stumbled across that gig by mistake, and I was like, oh my god, I got to see Conan and Bong Ripper again. Yeah, Bong Ripper, easily an easy choice. I Hate God's a close second.
Yeah.
I want to say Sleep were less of a gig and more of a spiritual awakening sort of experience.
Almost well, I'd say the same thing. Almost very cool. We saw them in Dublin. It was pre-pandemic sometime. That was class. It seemed very short though.
We could go on forever, but I think easy number one choice. And
Bong
I
Ripper.
think Anto, our bass player, he'd probably say the same.
Yeah.
Bong Ripper.
Amazing. Bong Ripper don't get enough shout outs, so that's cool. If you could go back in time and offer yourself, your younger self, say your teenage self, one bit of advice, what would it be?
Don't go to art school. Get a real job. Learn a trade. Become a plumber.
Learn a trade, son.
Learn like be an electrician. God damn it! Don't go to fucking art school.
Just don't do it. Whatever you're thinking, don't do it. No to everything.
That's a solid piece of advice. I wish I had listened to when I was younger.
I think if you're doing something, don't do that.
Okay, I'm going to change this one. Normally it's a little bit more vague, but because of the Irish connection, I've got to narrow it down to this. Is there a piece of Irish folklore in regards to, say, ghosts and spirits that you believe is true or could be true?
There is gold at the end of every rainbow.
Right.
No, God, no, never that.
Leprechauns are real.
Sometimes, okay, so we've got a thing here. It's not so much folklore, but fairy trees. There was a big sort of not problem, but it was like a lot of drama. Near enough to here. About 20 years ago, they wanted to build a motorway going through, some stretch of countryside, but it would have disturbed a lot of what's known as fairy forts or fairy trees. And I think they ended up not building the motorway because it would have disturbed the fairy trees. I can't remember exactly, but I think fairy trees, fairy forts hold a mystique. Now that could be total shite.
But I think it's just that
something about it.
Yeah, and it's that very, I guess, applicable sort of mythology, where I don't know, like that. When mythology like that can have a real effect in the real world, that is what makes it real, I suppose. I
just don't want the curse of the fairies on me. Like it's simple as that. I don't want to take that chance.
All right, fellas, last one. And it's Tooms related. What's an achievable goal that you would like to complete with Tooms before the year is over?
I guess it's achievable. I don't know if we'll do it, but record the second album before the end of the year. I mean, if we played our cards right, and if time and money and everything worked out, if the stars aligned, as they say, record the second album. Other than that, I guess do a tour in the UK, which is going to happen. So that's that's kind of the one, I suppose. Play more gigs abroad. I love playing in Ireland. I'd love to play in Germany, especially. The Germans have a really good sense for what's good metal.
You would say that.
All right,
Mr. Hölzinger.
Okay, Austria then. I'd love to play like Central Europe would be great. I think they have a really good sense of music. I'd love to play in Brazil. I think the Brazilians have a great taste in metal. But an achievable goal by the end of the year, I guess, complete a UK tour and record a second album. That's my answer. Play
our UK tour and don't shit ourselves or have a panic attack.
All extremely achievable. All extremely achievable. But before we get to those dates, the future dates you've got, which is fantastically high, here you are going to be so busy and over the UK in July. The Schmeckeningen is out on May 1st. 3 tracks. You can blast it within 10 minutes. Well, under 10 minutes. So you can get your taste of Tooms that way. Gentlemen, thank you so much for taking the time to do this. I really appreciate it.
Thanks very much.
Thank you, man.
Thank you very much for watching. If you liked what you saw, please help us out by giving us a thumbs up and hitting that subscribe button. If you really liked what you saw, consider donating to keep the website and channel running by buying us a coffee via our coffee page or picking up some merch from our Big Cartel store. You can check us out on gbhbl.com as well as via our social media, Facebook, Instagram and Twitter, as well as listen to our interviews via SoundCloud, Apple Music and Spotify. Just search for GBHBL. Games, horror and heavy metal. What else is life for?